Was Nikola Tesla religious? Bearing in mind that I haven't read My Inventions, which was authored by him in 1919, in this video I'm instead going to go through some quotes that people say prove Tesla was religious. Can anyone doubt today that all the millions of individuals and all the innumerable types and characters constitute an entity, a unit? Though free to think and act, we are held together like the stars in the firmament with ties inseparable. I don't think Tesla was referring to a god here. He is simply articulating his views on unity, and if you remember, Tesla was a humanitarian and thought that all humans needed to help each other and serve their purpose. Tesla further stated, "Every living being is an engine geared to the wheelwork of the universe, though seemingly affected only by its immediate surrounding. The sphere of external influence extends to infinite distance." You could say that this quote might mean that Tesla is spiritual or superstitious, but I don't see him involving God in any of these statements. What one man calls God, another calls the laws of physics. Religious people say this statement points out the hypocrisy of atheists. I don't see how this statement is pointing out that atheists are hypocritical. It seems perfectly logical to me. People say that it points out the ludicrous notion that the laws of physics suddenly popped into the universe for no reason. Of course the laws of physics didn't pop into the universe for no reason. No atheist has ever asserted that. If you ask them, they will simply say they don't know how or why the laws of physics came into the universe. The universe was once condensed into a size smaller than a primordial atom, and if we try to think back to what happened before the Big Bang, we can't, because all our tools of measuring the universe break down at that point. It's like asking, what is more north than the northernmost point of the North Pole, which cannot be answered as it cannot be measured. Instead of jumping to conclusions that God must have made the universe, i.e. the God of the gaps argument, we simply concede that we do not know. My brain is simply a receiver. In the universe there is a core from which we obtain knowledge, strength and inspiration. I have not penetrated into the secrets of this core, but I know that it exists. Tesla is talking about memory, and yes, it is seemingly strange how our most profound ideas just come to us without having to think about it. But you've got to remember that man is not capable of reasoning. Everything man creates or achieves is founded on previous ideas and creations through imitation and memorization. Nothing is original. We cannot reason because most of what we do is just what we think is right, which is founded on emotion and intuition rather than being rational. When he talks about his brain being a receiver, he's simply showing his confusion as to how the thoughts that he has come to his mind. It could also be that Tesla thought the accumulation of every thought that he ever had was the result of external stimuli. Tesla stated, "Nothing enters our minds or determines our actions which is not directly or indirectly a response to stimuli beating upon our sense organs from without." In layman's terms, an example of external stimuli would be looking at something that conjures up a thought in the mind. If you look at something, you will inevitably conjure up other thoughts that have to do in relation to the thing that you're looking at. If you glance at a television set, you would think by extension, this is related to electricity, plug sockets, resolution. If you look at a person, you might immediately relate that person to every interaction you have ever had with them, whether the person is pleasant to be around, what the person's voice sounds like, etc. It's a linear causality. It's equivalent to stating that this causes that, therefore this causes this, and the result of that is this. So the most appropriate action to take or not take in response to all of that information is this. The linear causality is really the only way that humans are capable of thinking, by memorization that works by linking a series of known things or events to each other. Anything that we do not know or aren't capable of knowing, we attempt to fill in by projecting our own theories onto it. Knowing all of that, I don't think he was trying to make a compelling argument for the existence of God. I personally believe that if there were a God, he could have at least let us know the purpose of our own existence, instead of letting us interpret it in this inconvenient way that essentially amounts to nothing more than a replication of a Rorschach ink block test. Evidence of being able to link things to other things instantly through association is not compelling evidence of God, that is compelling evidence of consciousness. On Tesla's Wikipedia page, it states that Tesla was not religious in the orthodox sense, said that he despised religious fanaticism, and that Christianity and Buddhism were the greatest religions in terms of influence and disciples. In other words, it doesn't really tell us whether Tesla was religious or not. It makes sense, I guess. Tesla was a very secretive man whose idiosyncrasies probably made him doubt himself and his ideas constantly. He had a type of intelligence that would make anyone self-destructive, as evidenced by the fact that his compulsive OCD, habit of sleep deprivation, and extreme discipline and devotion to his work made him become clinically insane in the latter part of his life. Tesla also stated when trying to refute Einstein's theory of relativity, "I hold that space cannot be curved, for the simple reason that it can have no properties. It might as well be said that God has properties. He has not, but only attributes, and these are of our own making." Notice how Tesla stated, "these are of our own making," alluding to the fact that our conception of God is made up to suit our own desires and needs and not founded on an objective factual basis. By him stating this, it shows that he is critical of the premise of God. Most religious people would say that their God is like this or like that because it says so in their religion or in the scripture. Their God is a fixed entity that they can project their desires onto. Tesla is aware of this, and so he treads carefully on the subject. There is no conflict between the ideal of religion and the ideal of science, but science is opposed to theological dogmas because science is founded on fact. Granted, I do find this a bit of a strange thing for him to say, considering that he thought that Christianity and Buddhism were the greatest religions, but I think it's because he likes the idea of the religion, rather than actually how the people in those religions conduct themselves. So, to summarize, was Tesla religious? I think the evidence is inconclusive. Personally, I don't think he was. A man as intelligent and committed to his humanitarian scientific pursuits as Tesla is unlikely to have been religious because, well, he's not the type of person to give in to dogma over reason. And for what Tesla has written, it's quite apparent that he's a rationalist. Of course, there's no way of knowing whether he was or not unless you have a time machine, so really there's no way of finding out. We can only speculate.